Alrighty, guys, we're now 3-0 in our last three extra daily bets on my website. And the good thing about our extra daily bet, it costs just $2.99 for a full month of service. But before we get into some more of that, just want to take a quick time out and welcome you to our college basketball video here today for Saturday, February 11th, 2023. Happy Saturday to you. Hopefully you had a great start to your weekend. My name is Brock Page. I've been doing sports picks on YouTube since 2016. I also sell my personal plays on patreon.com/BrockPage. And once again, guys, we are 3-0 in our last three extra daily bets on that website. Now, the extra daily bet is a package that I offer on that site. And if you sign up for that package here today, you're going to get access to that package every single day for the next 30 days. And as an added bonus, guys, you're also going to get access to my daily best play every day, absolutely free as well. It's going to be included with your purchase. Now, the math works out to be just 9 cents a day if you sign up for that membership here today. Now, if you want to get access to every single personal play, every single package, every single day for the next 30 days, you may want to think about signing up for my all-access, all-inclusive board member package. It's a full access, all-inclusive membership for the next 30 days, and the math works out to be just $1.66 a day. Now, I currently have over 540 members who are signed up and active on my site right now. And with that, guys, let's go ahead and get into some free content. We're going to start off in the ACC. I'm talking about NC State taking on Boston College, 12 o'clock East. NC State's -6 on the road, totals 140. Now, the Wolfpack did lose 4 of 7 on the road this year, and they're having a tough time grabbing defensive boards at times. And speaking of defense, NC State allows 71 points a game in their travels. They're facing a BC team who covered in 5 out of their last 7. They have a winning conference record at home. Quentin Post, he's scoring 16.5 points per contest. He's also drilling 41% of his three-pointers. Meanwhile, Mekhi Ashton Langford scoring 12 points a game himself. And when it comes to the total, Boston College saw unders against the likes of Clemson, North Carolina, and Duke. Meanwhile, NC State saw 5 out of their last 7 road games stay under the total themselves. Give me Boston College +6, under 140. Next game, Providence St. John's, 12 o'clock East. Providence is -5.5, totals 151 and a hook. But despite being favored on the road, Providence has been little threat shooting the long ball away from home. They're allowing 71 points a game on the road defensively as well. They're facing a St. John's team who loves to score points. These guys are averaging nearly 79 points a game as the home team. They're also a top 20 offensive rebounding team as well. Joel Rosario's 4th in the country with 12 boards a night. Meanwhile, Posh Alexander scores just about double-digit points a game himself. Now, injury-wise, David Jones is questionable for the Red Storm. When it comes to the total, 4 out of St. John's last 7 did get over the number. St. John's is also 60% to the over for the entire season. Meanwhile, Providence saw overs against the likes of Xavier, Marquette, and this very St. John's team. Give me the Red Storm +5.5, over 151 and a hook. Next matchup, it is going to be West Virginia taking on Texas, 12 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Texas is -6, totals 149. Now, the Longhorns have been nearly unbeatable at home. They're 13-1 in their last 14 home games, and they're holding their opponents to just 67 points a game during that span. When it comes to offensive production, Longhorns are making 50% of their field goals in the Moody Center. Marcus Carr is also leading the charge with 17 points a game, along with 4 assists. Meanwhile, Serge Jabari Rice is averaging nearly 12 points a game himself. Now, they're facing a West Virginia team on the other side who really hasn't traveled well this year. They lost 5 out of their last 7 road games. They've had a tough time with Texas in recent gatherings. Out of their last 10 contests against the Longhorns, West Virginia got the W only 2 times. When it comes to the injury report, Josiah Davis is questionable for the Mountaineers. Now, total-wise, West Virginia has seen nearly 70% of their contests this year all get over the total. Meanwhile, Texas is 9-5 to the over in their last 14 at home. Give me Texas -6, over 149. Next matchup I have for you, it is going to be Kansas, Oklahoma, 1 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Kansas is the 3-point favorite on the road. Total's 141. Now, the Jayhawks have had little issue getting on the scoreboard. These guys average over 76 points a game. And they're led by Grady Dick, who's draining 42% of his long balls. Now, Jalen Wilson's also averaging nearly 21 points a night himself. He's in the top 20 in the nation in points per game. Now, they're facing a struggling OU team who lost 6 out of their last 7. And they're certainly not built for a track meet. These Oklahoma scorers are averaging just 68 points a game. Now, total-wise, Oklahoma averaged just 67 points a game in their last 10 meetings with Kansas. So if you're into historical trends, certainly want to think about that one there. Meanwhile, the Jayhawks saw unders recently against the likes of Iowa State, Baylor, and TCU. I'm going to lean toward Kansas, -3, under 141. Next matchup, little SEC action. I'm talking about Alabama at Auburn, 2 o'clock Eastern start time. The Alabama Crimson Tide's -2.5, totals 153 and a hook. Now, simply put, the Tide's just playing better basketball than Auburn at the moment. They're 21-3 overall for the season, and Auburn lost 4 out of their last 5. Now, the Tigers have also been very little threat shooting it from three-land. These guys are actually one of the worst three-point shooting teams in the nation. When it comes to defensive play, there's a pretty good chance they're going to get out-rebounded on the defensive end of the court. They're facing a Bama team who leads the country in offensive boards per game. Brandon Miller's averaging nearly 9 rebounds a night. He's also leading the team in scoring. Meanwhile, teammate Mark Sears, he's scoring 13 points a game himself, and he's knocking down nearly 40% of his shots from long range. And for those who didn't know, the Tide's currently in the top 10 in the country in offensive points per contest. These guys are really good with the ball in their hands. Now, total-wise, Bama saw overs against the likes of Florida, Oklahoma, and Arkansas. Meanwhile, Auburn went 7-2 to the over in their last 9. I'm going to lean toward Alabama -2.5, over 153 and a hook. Next contest, a little Big Ten action. I'm talking about Rutgers at Illinois, 2 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Illinois is -4 at home, totals 133. Now, I definitely like Illinois in this spot here. They're 11-2 in the State Farm Center, and they're a top 25 offensive rebounding team. Dane Danger averages 6 rebounds a night. He's also scoring double-digit points a game. Meanwhile, Terry Shannon, he's scoring a team-best 17 points a game himself. When it comes to defensive play, the Illini are giving up just 63 points a game in their own arena. They're facing a Rutgers squad who lost 5 out of their last 7 on the road, and they have a tough time getting on the scoreboard. Out of those 7 road games I just mentioned, Rutgers averaged only 66 points per contest. When it comes to the total, the Scarlet Knights are officially 71% to the under in their road games. Meanwhile, Illinois saw 8 out of their last 13 at home stay under the total themselves. I'm going to lean toward Illinois -4, under 133. Next contest, it is going to be UConn squaring off against Creighton, 2 o'clock East. Creighton's -4.5 at home, totals 142 and a hook. Now, the Creighton Blue Jays have been nearly perfect at home this season. They're 11-1 in their own building, and they scored a whole bunch of points there. Not only are these guys averaging 80 points a game on their own court, they're also shooting nearly 50% from the field there. Trey Alexander, he's been Creighton's deep ball threat. He's currently making 40% of his three-pointers. Meanwhile, Ryan Kalkbrenner, he's averaging a team-high 15 points a game. Now, they're facing a UConn team who failed to cover in 5 out of their last 8 road games. And they've also had a tough time getting on the scoreboard in recent meetings with Creighton. They're actually being held to just 63 points a game in their last 6 meetings with the Blue Jays. When it comes to the total, UConn went 5-3 to the under in their last 8 on the road. Meanwhile, Creighton on the other side, they are currently 67% to the under in their own building. I'm going to lean toward Creighton -4.5, under 142 and a hook. All right, next contest I have for you, it is going to be Baylor taking on TCU. That'll be a 4 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Baylor's -1 on the road, totals 148.5. Now, Baylor is playing just .500 basketball on the road this year. They've had a real tough time on defense. The Bears are giving up 78 points a game while traveling, and their opponents are knocking down nearly 50% of their field goals against them in that same category. Now, they're facing a TCU team who won 11 of 13 at home this year, and they really stifled opposing offenses. The Horned Frogs are allowing just 60 points a game in their own arena. And they're also limiting their competition to only 39% shooting from the field there. Mike Miles, he has 25 steals on the season and a handful of blocks. Now, Miles is also leading the team in points with 18 a game. Now, you're going to want to keep an eye on Miles if you're firing on this game. He is currently battling some injury, so keep an eye on him. I'm pretty optimistic he's going to play, but just keep an eye on his status if you're going to fire on this game here. Now, Emmanuel Miller and Damian Ball, they're averaging 13 points a game respectively, so TCU does have a slew of guys who can get to the basket. Now, injury-wise, Eddie Lampkin is out for TCU, and once again, keep an eye on Mike Miles. He's battling a sore knee, so just take a gander at his status by tip-off. Now, for Baylor on the other side, L.J. Cryer is questionable with a foot. When it comes to scoring in this one, Baylor went 4-2 to the under in their last 6. Meanwhile, TCU saw unders against the likes of Kansas State, Oklahoma, and the Kansas Jayhawks. I'm going to lean toward TCU +1, under 148.5. Next ball game, it is going to be Duke, Virginia, 4 o'clock East. Virginia's -5.5, totals 126. Now, the Cavaliers are playing some really good basketball at the moment. They got the W in 8 out of their last 9, and they've dropped only one contest in Charlottesville this year. When it comes to defensive play, there's not many out there better than the Cavaliers. These guys allow just 57 points a game in their own building. Armand Franklin, he has 21 steals and double-digit blocks. He's also leading the Cavs in scoring. Meanwhile, Reese Beekman, he's scoring double-digit points a game himself. He's also drilling 43% of his three-pointers. Now, they're facing a Duke team who failed to cover in 8 out of their last 10. And out of their last 7 road games, the Blue Devils got the W only 2 times. Now, Duke's averaging only 65 points a game on the road this year, and they're making only 26% of their three-pointers in that same category. Now, injury-wise, Derek Whitehead is questionable for Duke. When it comes to the number, the Blue Devils are 10-2 to the under in all of their contests away from Cameron Indoor. That does include neutral site contests. Meanwhile, Virginia saw unders against the likes of NC State, Syracuse, and Florida State. I'm going to lean toward Virginia -5.5. Under 126. Next matchup, little Big Ten action. I'm talking about Indiana squaring off against Michigan. That'll be a 6 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Michigan's -3, totals 144. Now, the Wolverines are on a 3-game winning streak, and they've been tough to beat in the Chrysler Center. These guys are 10-3 in front of their own fans, and they're averaging 75 points a game there. Big Hunter Dickinson, he scores a team-high 18 points a game, along with 8.5 rebounds. Meanwhile, Jett Howard's second on the team in scoring. He also knocks down just about 40% of his long balls. Now, they're facing an Indy team who lost 5 of 8 on the road this year. When it comes to defensive play, the Hoosiers gave up 74 points a game in those contests away from Assembly Hall. Now, injury-wise, Johnson's still out. Dunkam's questionable. Meanwhile, for Michigan, Isaiah Barnes is questionable for them. When it comes to the total, Michigan went 6-3 to the over in their last 9. Meanwhile, Indy saw overs against the likes of Purdue, Ohio State, and Michigan State. I'm going to lean toward Michigan -3 over 144. The next matchup, it is going to be Oklahoma State taking on Iowa State, 6 o'clock Eastern start time. Iowa State's -6, totals 127. The Cyclones are still undefeated at home, and they've been nearly impossible to score against. Iowa State allows just 54 points a game in their own arena. They're also amongst the best defensive rebounding teams in the Big 12. And speaking of defensive play, Gabe Kalster has 35 steals and a handful of blocks. Meanwhile, Jaron Holmes, he's averaging over 13.5 points a game, and he's drilling nearly 40% of his three-pointers. Now, they're facing an Oklahoma State team who lost 5 out of their last 7 on the road. They've had all kinds of issues offensively. These guys are scoring only 67 points per contest in their road games. They've been very little threat shooting it from three land. Now, injury-wise, Avery Anderson's still out for the Cowboys. When it comes to the total, Oklahoma State saw unders against the likes of Baylor, Kansas State, and this very Iowa State team. Meanwhile, ISU's 13-9 to the under in their qualifying ball games. Give me Iowa State -6, under 127. Next matchup, it is going to be Kansas State taking on Texas Tech, 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Now, Kansas State is -1.5, totals 144 and a hook. Now, Kansas State's played some really bad defense on the road this year. They're allowing a staggering 83 points a game while traveling. Their opponents are knocking down 48% of their field goals against them in that same category. Now, they're facing a Texas Tech team who has little issue getting to the basket at home. They were averaging 80 points a game in the supermarket, and they're making just about 50% of their field goals there. Now, Kevin Obanor, he's drilling 50% of his attempts from the field. He's also the team's leading scorer. Meanwhile, Davion Harmon, he's scoring 13 points a game himself. When it comes to the injury report, Fardal's IMOC is still questionable. Pop Isaacs is still out. When it comes to the total, Texas Tech saw their last 4 straight get over the number. Meanwhile, Kansas State on the other side, they went 6-1 to the over on the road. I'm going to lean toward Texas Tech +1.5, over 144 and a hook. With that, guys, we're going to jump into our next and final matchup for the video. It is going to be UCLA taking on Oregon, 10 o'clock Eastern tip-off. UCLA is -2 on the road, totals 133. Now, I do think the Bruins can get the job done on the road here. They've lost just 2 games on the road this season, and they're still playing some incredibly tough defense while traveling. The Bruins are allowing only 59 points a game this year defensively, and they are actually in the top 10 in the country in fewest points allowed per game on the road. Jaime Jaquez, he has 18 blocks on the year and 39 steals. Meanwhile, teammate David Singleton, he scores double-digit points a game himself. He's knocking down nearly 44% of his 3 balls. Now, the Bruins are taking on an Oregon team on the other side who's actually been little threat shooting it from 3 land this year themselves. They actually have one of the lowest offensive 3-point percentages in the Pac-12. They also failed to cover recently against the likes of Arizona, Colorado, and Stanford. Now, when it comes to the total, UCLA went 70% to the under in their last 10. Unders against the likes of Oregon State, Washington, and Arizona. I'm leaning toward UCLA -2, under 133. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our quick pick recap. Give me Boston College +6, under 140. St. John's +5.5, over 151 and a hook. Texas -6, over 149. Real quick, guys, I'm 3-0 my last 3 extra daily bets on my website. And the extra daily bet's only going to cost you just $2.99 for 30 days of service. Give me Kansas -3, under 141. Alabama -2.5, over 153 and a hook. Illinois -4, under 133. Creighton -4.5, under 142 and a hook. TCU +1, under 148 and a half. Virginia, the Cavaliers -5.5, under 126. Michigan -3, over 144. Iowa State -6, under 127. Texas Tech +1.5, over 144 and a hook. With my next and final free pick, give me UCLA -2, under 133. And with that, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on my website. Now, if you guys do end up getting a package here today on patreon.com/BrockPage, just keep in mind, you're going to get access to that membership for the next 30 days. And of course, as an added bonus, you're also going to get access to all of my cheaper memberships absolutely free. They're going to be included with your purchase. That's why I always encourage folks to get that board member package. It's an all-inclusive, full access membership. Gives you access to every single personal play, every single package, every single day for the next 30 days. The math works out to be just $1.66 a day. That's cheaper than your daily cup of coffee. Most other handicappers are going to charge a couple $100 just for a day or two of service. So certainly keep that in mind. And also, as a board member, you get access to my board member podcast as well. But most importantly, guys, got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube or TikTok. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. With that said, guys, happy Saturday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage.